Okay, great. Welcome everybody to the Printerverse. This is one of my favorite panels every year. Mark, I'm sorry, am I interrupting your personal conversation during my panel? No? Okay. So this is one of my favorite panels at Graph Expo. It is the Inkjet panel. This year it's called Team Inkjet, Membership Has Its Privileges. And I am fortunate enough that I can, through basically my audience, which is all of you and all the people at home, who are the people. We are the people who use the equipment. We are the people who buy the equipment. Me personally, I'm an end user. I'm the person who would be printing with your equipment and selling it to my clients that it's acceptable. And I say acceptable because it's inkjet technology. You know what I mean by that. Anytime I make a decision about where I print, I am responsible for that decision. And in order to get me onto a new technology, even when digital printing first came out, it was a hard thing to get us to use the digital printing technology until we were sure that our clients wouldn't run from us in the advertising agencies asking us what in God's name were we doing with these glorified copy machines, because they had no idea what they were at the time. We're like, no, it's a digital press. They're like a copy machine? We're like, no. So let's start this panel off by, I just want to mention that this particular panel is about learning what all the companies up here have to offer and what they bring to the table, so that all of you printers out there and people who use this technology can make their own decisions on which inkjet offerings are right for your business and which partner you want to work with. This isn't them against each other. It's about you understanding what they all bring to the table. And I salute you all for sitting with each other on my panels, and I really appreciate it. So first of all, I just want to start off by thanking you. So Guy, we will start with you because you're just here on this particular instance right next to me. Can you introduce yourself, briefly tell everybody a little bit about what you do and about the inkjet technology questions you're having over in the Canon booth?
Thank you for having me. I appreciate being here. On behalf of Canon, it's a real privilege. Real privilege to be in Orlando here at Graph Expo and having a little bit of fun with all the customers asking some amazing questions. I'm Guy Broadhurst. I'm Vice President of Technology and Client Development for CSA. Specifically every day I really have two roles. One is to describe why Canon chose our technology that we did and how we put it together and how we make it relevant for customers. And the second part of my job really is to develop client solutions using front-end packages from some of our partners and from some other vendors perhaps we don't generally do business with, and also using our own software solutions to bring together solutions that ultimately work in a customer's environment. So we're not just selling a widget, we're selling a group of pieces that make it more relevant to the customer. And same with the finishing side. We also have a group of people that help develop finishing solutions that again are important to our customers in the end, because there's not one shoe fits all, so to speak. From our viewpoint, when we look at what we're doing in the booth, really we're trying to show how inkjet has really come to the point now where we can now, with the right paper, the right inks, and the right technology, produce output at significant cost savings of the traditional toner-based equipment that's been out there for perhaps 15 or 20 years. That's really the point of this show, is to show how far we've come, how much money you can save, and how many substrates, how many different applications can be printed on our equipment in different ways and come out with the piece that you need. That's really the object of the exercise.
Thanks so much. Mark, HP.
Thank you. My name is Mark Johnson. I'm the Americas Marketing Manager and sometimes Business Development Manager for our inkjet solutions. And I say that because I've got a bit of a dual role. Part of my job is to get out there and evangelize and talk about the inkjet technology and where it's at today. And being HP, we've got a long history with inkjet, right? Most people have HP printers of some sort in their home or business, so we know a thing or two about inkjet, but we're taking it to new levels now. And with the commercial presses, our role here is to show printers what's possible. And because we also have so many other technologies under the umbrella, whether it's indigo or wide format or latex or there's so many different things that we've got under the umbrella that we want to show where each one has a fit. And what we're finding, and our customers, quite frankly, are finding, is that inkjet is starting to take a role where it can supplant, it can enhance, it can work with, and in some cases displace offset. And for the printers that we've got that have implemented inkjet, that have been traditional offset houses, they're finding that they can actually, one of them actually told me point blank, we've made our offset more efficient by taking inkjet on, because now I can put all that troublesome work that took forever to get up to color on the web press, move that over to inkjet and use offset for what it's really good for, millions of the same thing, and take the things that are more version, more shorter run, do that on inkjet, and oh, by the way, since I have an indigo or two, I can use that for covers, for brochures, for even shorter run work. So our customers are telling us, where the technology fits best, and in my business development role, I actually go out there and help our customers with getting that solution into their customers' hands. So talking about sales and sales training, and that's kind of our whole package of solutions. In addition to the gear and the kit that makes it all work from front to back, it's also how to get the sales guys to tell the story, to tell their customers how it's going to enhance their business. Because what we're all in the business of doing is selling print to people who buy print. So that's my shtick.
Thank you so much. Rico.
Good afternoon. My name is Ed Wong. I'm the Director of Product Marketing for our inkjet production systems. So from a responsibility standpoint, like Guy and Mark, we have the responsibility of being evangelists here, of educating customers, the market, around what the capabilities of inkjet are, of dispelling some of the earlier perceptions of the limitations of inkjet, and basically, informing and educating the market that there are solutions out there that can migrate volume from offset over to inkjet systems these days. So it's not only evangelizing, but then capturing the voice of the customer, making sure that we're listening to the requirements of the market and building it into our solutions. So it's about going out, talking to customers, surveying them, and understanding their needs and applications, and putting it into our solutions. So that's part of our, my responsibility within product marketing. Here at the show, what we're demonstrating, we're actually bringing in print samples from our latest technology, our VC60000, to show that, the possibilities are there to bring offset volume over to inkjet, that we've got the quality, that we've got the capabilities, and we've got the versatility in terms of paper support now as well. So that's our story.
Thanks so much. Chris, Xerox.
Hi, I'm Chris Herrick, the Worldwide Product Marketing Manager for the Rialto 900, as well as our other entry-level inkjet offerings. And like these other three gentlemen, my role is to evangelize, and it's evangelize the message of inkjet has arrived. It's here. If you were to come to this show 2, 3, 5 years ago, you would have been in the position of being what would be considered an early adopter of the technology. You could spot an inkjet print from across the room like George Costanza spotting dimes, right? So, that being said, my role is to prove that inkjet has arrived, that it's got the quality that folks are looking for, it's got the scalable economics that we're claiming, and more. And not so much from the offset perspective. Xerox's perspective is about digital or xerographic harmony. You guys have heard so much about, like early on when digital arrived, that it was going to be the offset killer, right? Say goodbye to your offset presses. That didn't happen. And when inkjet has arrived, you're not going to kiss your xerographic presses or your offset presses goodbye either. It's about the harmony between complementing what you have with inkjet for the scalable economics, delivering more, delivering better. So that's really what Xerox is all about. Thanks.
Thanks so much. Ed, I'm actually going to start with you on this question because you're new to the Alliance and to this conversation. And first of all, I want to say welcome and thank you very much to Rico for joining us this year. I really appreciate it, and I hope you come back. What is your ideal customer for your inkjet technology, and who is their ideal customer? What is Rico's response to why inkjet?
Wow, our ideal customer, one that pays on time? How's that for a start? Now, I guess, yeah, you know, the customers that we're targeting right now are in the commercial print, doing marketing collateral, direct mail, customers that can take advantage of the digital technology, because, you know, they're serving customers these days that aren't looking for a generic message anymore. I mean, us as consumers, we're bombarded every day with messages, emails, you know, any sort of solicitation. But the fact of the matter is, unless it's sent directly to us with a message that's relevant to us, chances are we're going to discard that direct mail piece or that piece of collateral. So that's why personalization, customization is so key these days, and that we've got to take advantage of the fact that digital does allow us to, you know, tailor that message specifically to an individual, to a population, what have you. And, you know, what we're discovering these days is we're dealing with consumers with shorter and shorter attention spans, meaning that you've got millennials out there that are living in the age of the swipe. You know, so name your application where, you know, they look at a picture, they like it or dislike it, right? They change their mind in a heartbeat. So the fact is, brand loyalty isn't the same brand loyalty that we grew up with, meaning that our customers need to constantly be able to reinvent themselves and reinvent the message to attract these consumers and their changing tastes.
Thank you so much. HP.
I was just counting because I think Ed brought up a really good point, and I just wanted to count. Since we sat here at the panel, I've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've had 5 emails filtered in my spam folder just while we've been sitting here. And I'm a typical consumer, right? So a lot of the marketing messages that we as consumers get aren't getting to us. And I think that's what our collective customers are really challenged with. How to make marketing more effective. And we believe with all of our heart that print is still the most valuable, most economical, most effective way to get marketing messages into consumers' hands. This is proven by so many retailers, so many financial companies, so many insurance companies, medical insurance companies, the whole roster of hospitality. Everybody gets it. They understand the print is valuable. My mission, my customer's mission, is to convince customers to put that marketing dollar, that marketing budget to print, to make it more effective, to show a higher ROI to that marketing spend. So who's our ideal customer? Somebody I can credit qualify, somebody that pays on time, and somebody who knows how to talk what I just talked about. Have that conversation with their customers about making marketing more effective, making their print more effective. And if they get that, they're going to get digital. They're going to understand how digital can change their marketing return on investment and make it very profitable. So that I want my customers to be successful, to be growing, to be hugely successful with printing more and more pages. And that's how we enable them to do it.
Thanks. Xerox.
The ideal customer for our technology is a customer that wants to win. Somebody who is strategically focused in their market on how to leverage inkjet technology to grow their business. It's not just about surviving, it's about growing. We've got countless examples where we've had customers invest in this technology to win and grow share. I'll give you a great example. We've got Giza in Germany, who had the classic overprinting workflow, right? You print on color shells, and then you have your basic inserts in the envelope, and then they were charging for basically monochrome overprinting. What they did with our inkjet technology is they move from that insert to onsert. They increase that marketing value that we were just talking about up here. They increase the value, they increase the throughput, so they are able to turn around faster, increase more relevance, but they're able to charge the same price as they were before for basic monochrome overprinting. And their competition can't keep up. So they're using inkjet as a strategic weapon to grow and to win. So that's the ideal customer for us.
Thanks so much. Guy. Canon. Solutions America.
Thank you. Wow, it's a loaded question, you know, what is our ideal customer? I think overall, customers really want to be more relevant to their customers. So ultimately, we're trying to do the same thing. It's a trickle-down effect, or trickle-up effect, whichever direction you want to look at. In the end, we have got to produce products that are as paper agnostic as possible, have the very best print quality, at the most effective price for the market that that customer is going after. That's ultimately what we're trying to do. The more relevant we can be to them, the more likely they're going to stick with our products, grow their business, and do more for their customer, and like I said, be more relevant. When we think about what we're trying to do in the end, one thing we've noticed here, and certainly in the past couple of years, and especially lately, is that we've also got to take the time and educate the customer's customer on how to design for Inkjet without having to totally change everything they've been doing. So to that end, we've also produced and worked with our marketing department and with Think, which is now the largest users group in the world, where we can take the information we have from ourselves and from our customers and put them into books and documents where customers can read them at all different levels of this important process and grow this business, which is one of the largest businesses in the United States, driving this engine that we have to make us all more successful. That's ultimately what we're trying to do. The education component and what you can do with these printers today is quite remarkable. That's really the message, and that's the message we're trying to get out on a regular basis. What can we do to grow the business for all of us, every single person in the chain of our business?
Thanks so much. The next question. What improvements have been made to your Inkjet offerings over the last 5 years? And what are some of the, and how have these improvements specifically helped your customers? Chris, let's start with you. Because you look like you were thinking about it, so.
I was deeply contemplating that question, but I got an easy answer for it. So, the value.
I just want to remind all the panelists to speak a little louder, please, into the microphones.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Am I coming through? Okay, so the value prop for the Xerox Inkjet portfolio is very simple. It's innovation, it's flexibility, and it's reliability. So over the past 5 years, we've been diligent at building platforms that speak to new areas of opportunity, specifically this zone of disruption, which was coined by InfoTrends. And that zone of disruption, it's that new area that many of us are now playing in, right, which means that there's validation of this opportunity. But the zone of disruption is that chasm that used to exist between cut sheet xerography and high-speed continuous feed. And it was largely unserved. Then Rialto comes along, and not to make a play for that, but the idea is putting products in spaces that small, simple, scalable, that allow customers to do things that they weren't able to do before. You know, the three primary objections of getting into Inkjet, you guys all know these, right? It's cost, size, and complexity. Size is a huge barrier, right? When you look at Inkjet presses, they've only gotten bigger, 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 right? Okay. Kind of like dinosaurs, right? They get bigger, bigger, bigger. And with that size comes a lot of cost, and it comes with a couple nuclear physicists to keep those things running. Well, wouldn't it be novel to make something kind of small and kind of green button simple? The whole idea in this space, if you think about xerography and how far it's come, the big selling point, what helped to democratize that technology, was making it green button simple. Anybody, a kiosk could walk up, hit a single button, and generate profitable print. That's the whole idea. That's as complex as it needs to get. So with Inkjet, why is it any different? Why can't that same key operator who's running my xerographic press pivot in place and run my Inkjet press? When I was here last year, you talk to folks and they say, hey, listen, I've got my continuous feed guys over here. That's my skilled labor. And then I got my guys over here running my cut sheet presses. Why are they two different people? Why? So what we've done over the past 5 years is we've done something pretty novel. We've created a press that fits in a really tiny space. In fact, it's a little bit smaller than our cut sheet offerings. It's tiny, and the same people that are operating our color press, or iGen, or Versants can operate that same press and do it at half or less a cost.
Thank you very much. HP. I'm skipping around.
Oh, you're really mixing it up here.
Mixing it up.
I'm going to take your 5-year timeline and actually stretch it a little bit, because we came out, and so did you guys, back at Drupa 2008. And we've been doing this for a while in Inkjet. And so what I can do is I've got a luxury, is I can look back at our first generation of Inkjet presses. And what's really cool is I can go to that first customer that I had in Los Angeles, who put in 1, 2, 3, 4, and many, many more down the road. But in his LA plant, he's got 3 presses. And that customer who bought press number 2 and press number 14 and I think press number 17, those press numbers have been upgraded. And that's one of our biggest value pillars, is that when you buy a 30-inch press in 2008, when the new Inkjet came along a few years later, he was able to upgrade to that. When a speed increase came along a few years later and he doubled his productivity, he was able to upgrade to that. When we increased the resolution and doubled the resolution, he's able to upgrade to that. We made that announcement here at the show as well. So all of our press platforms have had this constant innovative stream of upgrades, and because of the design, the engineering that we put into the press, you're able to take advantage of those upgrades. And what that does for a printer, think about this. Not only do you get to have the latest and greatest, yay, but it also ensures that your competitor who is late to the game adopting Inkjet, or not as early of an adopter as you are in adopting Inkjet, you don't have to worry about getting leapfrogged, which is a big fear that I hear from a lot of printers is, okay, if I invest today, what happens next year or the next Drupa? Are all of my competitors who waited this out going to jump ahead of me? We've built our product platforms to ensure that that doesn't happen. The other thing, all of the other pieces and parts that go in front and behind the press with paper priming and paper handling systems, that also further ensures that your investment is good for not just 2 or 3 years, but it's going to work with you for 5, 7, 10 years. I've got people that are planning on amortizing these presses for a decade. I better make sure that they can keep up to date with the technology with that.
Thanks. Ed? Rika?
So I guess you could summarize our developments in a couple of keywords: faster, cheaper, better. Right? I mean, that's how the technology matures. But like what Mark was saying, one of our philosophies is to ensure that we help protect the investment of our customers. Because when customers get into production inkjet, it's not like buying a $30,000 toner-based system where they're going to look to flip it in 2 years and try to get a lower cost of operation. This press needs to stay in place for quite a number of years. And so similar to Mark, our philosophy is, how do we scale our systems, our platforms, so they're constantly being upgraded and being relevant to the market requirements. So if you look at an IP5000, which we launched back in 2008, just like Mark's customer, our first customers are up to date to today's installations. With the VC60000, which we introduced last year, we're going faster. We're up to 150 meters per minute. We've got a broad range of paper paper support through our coding systems to support offset coded papers. And so, the technology continues to evolve and get better to serve the market.
Thank you. Guy, Canon, Solutions America.
Thank you. What improvements? We can talk about faster. We can talk about. I'm not sure I'd always talk about cheaper, but certainly on running costs, cheaper for sure. But one thing I would tackle, a couple of things. I want to make 2 bullet points. Number one, the thing that we've tackled the most is trying to reduce the amount of maintenance and intervention that's required on our equipment, and that equates to more productivity. So one of the most important things to look at as customers think about equipment is the productivity time that the equipment has in the environment it's going to be put into. So if you pick a number, what's interesting to see on some toner-based color systems, as an example, you're at 50% productivity. If you buy 150 page a minute or 300 page a minute, pick a number, that's really impactful to your overall environment. So we want that printer to be as productive as possible. So we've automated a lot of functions and in the printer, and I just want to say I don't completely agree with Chris. You don't need a rocket science to run these printers. Actually, the opposite is completely true. Inkjet printers as a whole are a lot simpler. They're a lot easier to run. It's a mono-component, non-aging print process that doesn't require pieces that are aging over the period of time. We don't need all of the color management system to manage that aging component anymore. It's much simpler, much easier to run, and therefore maintenance has been a big target for us, and make sure that printer's up more often. Just to give you an example, on our continuous feed side and now on our cut sheet side, we now often quote very, very high 90s in uptime performance for our printers. That's the type of performance we expect out of them, and that's the performance you expect as well. It's important to us that those two components go hand in hand, both productivity and uptime, so every time you come to use it, it's ready, willing, and able. That's what's key as well, of course, besides all the obvious things about making it cheaper, faster, better, wider, whatever feature you want to talk about.
Thank you very much. I'm going to start with you, HP, because Mark, because I do spend a lot of time with the team Inkjet, same with Canon Solutions America. It's not that I don't want to spend time with you other guys, but you don't invite me to come spend time with you. But if you want me to, I'm available. So I have first-hand knowledge of this, so I'm going to give you Mark, this question first. What have your customers taught you about your own inkjet technology, and what are some of the more creative and inventive ways that they're using it?
What haven't our customers taught us about inkjet? This is the thing about, and I think we're all in the same boat here. We make really cool technology, and then we put it out to the market. And we have all these preconceived notions about, it's going to do transaction work really well. It's going to do books really well. We have all these cool things that we go to market with, and then the first customer we sell the press to comes up with this crazy application in healthcare that we never dreamed of. And then we've got another customer who's doing retail work that takes the idea of a coupon and goes 7 layers higher. Or I've got another customer that took the idea of, when you sign up for auto insurance, what do you get in the mail? Number 10 envelope, black and white, here's your insurance ID card, thank you very much. And then in 6 months, you go shop it around again. So I've got one customer that mails a magazine, customized. And if you bought a car insurance, it's talking about life insurance. These things that we never dreamed of because they were smart about their data management. What else have our customers taught us? That when we tell them we're not sure or we don't think something will work, that's usually a challenge for them to go make it work. So we've had customers that have gone out and worked with paper vendors directly that we hadn't already gotten to. And they'll leap ahead of us. And they'll work with finishing companies that we haven't worked with. And what's nice about being a technology company, okay, if a customer wants us to go partner with somebody, we'll do it. So sometimes they take the lead and they'll get ahead of us. And that's really good. So we learn from that. Yeah.
Thank you.
That's a good start.
Let's go to Rico.
Wow, like Mark, our customers, I've been in the production industry for longer than I care to admit, probably about 115 years in dog years. And, in this part of the market, they constantly push the envelope in the capabilities of our technologies, whether it be on toner, whether it be on inkjet. So our customers are constantly teaching us what can be done, through their own creativeness, and they push the envelope on the capabilities of the systems. The combination of not only doing direct mail, but then email blasts and these whole campaigns that are wrapped around multimedia is really key now. That's coming up, and we want to help educate our other customers and taking these tidbits of information, because at the end of the day, we want to help our customers be successful, right? That's what we're basically learning right now, is just understanding the new applications and capabilities that these customers are investigating and exploring upon.
Thanks. Canon Solutions America.
The most fun applications, I would say the most interesting things that obviously our customers push us, and we're very thankful to our customers for doing that. If I talk about 2 specific types of applications that have been the most fun to work on in the past 6 months, I would say, one which is extremely relevant, by the way, for tonight's debate, are ballots and inkjet. People don't think they go hand in hand, but we figured out a way to do that and make the ink work for the applications, and again, make it relevant for the customer. Yes, we can maintain the registration. Yes, we can maintain dropout inks. And yes, we can have the superb quality that's required by I don't even know how many tens of thousands different groups there are within the United States that look at all these ballots and have all these different regulations around these ballots. So we've been able to accomplish that task. That was a lot of fun to work on. It's very detail oriented and follows a set of rules. The next most interesting set of applications that we've seen lately as we introduce the VariPrint i300 have been introducing a myriad of forms into one application. So you think about two ends of the spectrum as an example. One would be a check application as an example. For those of you that use duplicate checks out there, you can think of an NCR paper and a regular 24-pound paper. Combining those into one application and delivering output, that's an achievement in itself. Another application would be where you've got many different paper types within one saddle-stitched book, whether it's an offset paper or an inkjet treated paper, a postcard if it's perfed, whatever it is. That's the most fun type of work to work on with a customer, because that's a challenge for them, and in the end that's what we're really there to deliver to them, is a solution that they need. So those are types of things that we work on a regular basis and are more fun to be pushed to accomplish.
Thanks so much. Xerox.
Okay, so the question was, what have we learned from our customers? What have they taught us about inkjet? Is that right? Okay.
That, and then what are some more of the more inventive ways they're using it?
Perfect. So I'll answer the first one. I'll take it up from applications a little bit. Here's what our customers have taught us. It's how to help them get time to profitability shortened. So you're going to say, well, what exactly does that mean? When we talk about selling an inkjet press as a strategic tool for a business, customers look to us and say, how do I do that? How do I transform my business? I'm a service provider, right? My claim to fame was meeting SLAs, but I need to be more than that. I'm a commercial printer, and I printed like really great looking graphic arts applications, but I want to offer more than that. How do I become a marketing service provider? How do I use your inkjet to get there? So they look to companies like us to help them transform their business, to evolve, to become something better, to become something different. And that's what they've helped teach us, how to deliver better business development, better solutions, better workflows, and better technology. Yeah, we all up here are off like keyboard elves working in a workshop, figuring out how to make the physics of water and paper work a little bit better. And kudos to everyone on the panel for doing that. But it's a little bit different than that. You guys are counting on us that we've got that. Inkjet has arrived. I mean, I can show you an application up here where we've got about 75–80% area coverage, right? With a graphic arts application, that's no excuse inkjet. It looks like a zero graphic print. That's actually your base expectation out of us. What you're really looking for is, when I buy your press, how quickly can I become profitable? How will you help me? So our customers have taught us how to do that. The more inventive applications, because when we go to sell a press, we say, hey, you know, you can do your typical spray and pray transaction, and you can do a little bit of transpromo, and yeah, you can do your direct marketing cloud, but they push boundaries. How do I marry my iGen 5 covers with scalable inkjet content to sell something quicker and better and different to my customers? So they've showed us how to have a harmony between our zero graphic offerings and our inkjet offerings, and they're constantly pushing those boundaries. Constantly pushing the boundaries. Thanks.
Thanks so much. Okay, the next question's going to poke the bear a little.
Uh-oh.
Should the inkjet talk tracks be focusing on offset replacement or offset enhancement? How can both of these technologies work together?
Me first?
Well, you're giving me a dirty look or a questionable look, so, and I mean, I'm not even going to get into the fact that you're kind of, you know, going inkjet toner versus toner now, but let's just focus this on offset. But if you want to move it to your other technologies that use toner, feel free.
Well, I'll stick with the original premise of the question about offset, right? I mean, we're sitting here next to, every time that press starts up, we hear it sing. And believe me, I come from...
And they're in our alliance, by the way.
I love Ryobi. I've worked closely with them over the years.
Our RMGT.
Offset is not dying, and I've gotten kind of cocky on panels and said, you know, offset is going to be replaced by inkjet at some point. I think it will eventually. I'm not sure that's going to happen in my lifetime, but what I am seeing, and I'm seeing it day in and day out, customers who implement inkjet technology that have existing offset are moving work over. Now, one customer, I talked about him earlier, his offset volumes actually have gone up. He's printing more. He actually retired one press, made it much, much more efficient, and he took his offset efficiencies up from like, in the low 40s. He brought that up to 80% because he's doing what offset does well. The long run stuff that isn't variable, the static work all day long on offset. The more complicated stuff, the more color critical stuff, that went digital. And I see that happen in customer side after customer side. So do you call that offset enhancement or offset displacement? It's kind of both at the same time.
Well, I kind of also mean in that, I appreciate what you're saying, and I'm glad that you took it there, because that's even better information to share. But I'm also interested in hybrids. Is there a way that they both can work together as well? But I do like what your response really brought in the topic, so thank you.
So taking it down to an application level, though, and that's a good point to make. So I've also got another customer who's taking digital work and offset work and marrying them together on the same job. So, you've got, if you have a universe of, 500,000 that you're mailing to, and the base inside 30 pages are the same for all of them, but the outer 4, 8, 12, or 16 change, that's where you've got a great hybrid application where you use digital for some of it and then offset for a bulk of it, and what you've just done is made the application cost not so expensive. So we've got customers doing that as well, and all of us have that capability. The systems today, the workflow today that can support that, it's available, and it works.
Rico.
I guess, from the way I look at it, it's not necessarily a replacement right now. I'd say it's a complement, and it's up to the individual customers to determine, what's the best route to get the printed result, and what the requirements are. Because as Mark had mentioned, with offset, there's economies of scale that you can't achieve on continuous feed inkjet still. Okay, but the problem there is it's static work that you can't vary the content there, and that's where digital has its strengths, is being able to tailor and personalize that message to the end customer there. So the way we position it, it's got to work hand in hand, but like Mark said as well, it's eventually going to phase out. I see one of the challenges is not necessarily the technology, but from an operation perspective, where's the skilled labor pool that's going to replace the operators, the press room operators today? I mean, that's becoming more and more challenging because it's not automatic to run a press. It's not push button. There's still a craft involved. And, it's harder and harder to find those people and train those people that want to stay interested in the press. So, part of that volume migration is driven by that aspect as well, that, there's a lack of labor pool to replace the, people retiring there.
Thanks. Guy, Canon Solutions America.
Really, Inkjet had to get to a point where it was, or is now, giving quality output equal to offset press as much as possible. That's really an important point of this discussion, because if I think back just 5 or 6 years ago, the fact is that a offset press couldn't get below, let's say, 2,500 to 3,500 book run length. Today, those same offset presses are down around 500 or so. So what's happened is they've become more and more efficient. Of course, they've always given great output. There's never a question about the output quality. It's just a question about them being more and more efficient for all kinds of very important reasons. Our issue is also at the same time to become less expensive, which I think we've all done, and to improve our print quality. And of course, we've always been very variable. So both of those pieces come together very well. And you think about the obvious long tail of a book. If an author wants to test a book and they want to do it and make sure it works right, they'll do 50, 60, 70, whatever they want to do, hundreds even. And if it takes off, perhaps they go straight to offset. And in a similar way, if you think about direct mail, it's almost the same kind of thing. If they want to do testing and relevancy of that piece, and they want to go do it into a certain marketplace, they can do a few hundred and make them completely variable. And if it works, and it works well, and the campaign works well, they can do that now, a few 100,000 of those with a combination of digital on offset. And that works well too. So the combination of those two things is working quite well. I would tend to agree that Run lengths for offset presses obviously are pretty high, but overall they have really come down and become quite important to the overall marketplace, building print back up from its low of 2008 or so, 2009. So they've done a really good job there. So we at the same time have come up to their level, and we still have some ways to go perhaps, but we're going to get there, and we're going to be as good as offset someday, and then we can combine the two even more.
Thank you. Chris, and also, can you just turn your tent card around so people can see your info? Thank you.
So, no, I don't believe in the short term or the medium term that Inkjet will replace offset. This isn't Thunderdome, right? There doesn't have to be just one standing. The idea is going to be, if you look out in the future, what is going to be the right size number of placements of offset once Inkjet penetration has matured? It's certainly going to go down, right? Inkjet quality, as Guy said, has gone up, and we will offset presses by quite a bit. They're not going anywhere. Xerography is not going anywhere. If any of us up here tell you that if a customer walks in, that with Inkjet that we can do silver dry ink or gold dry ink or clear dry ink, we'd follow that by telling you we also print with unicorn tears. That's not going to happen. There's a place for xerography, there's a place for offset printing. Just those numbers may go down over time as that inkjet quality goes up and as the penetration matures. That's it.
Thanks. If you guys don't mind, it's up to you. We have two questions. Did you want to say something else?
No.
Oh, if you guys don't mind, we do have some questions from home. We are kind of close to the end. If you don't mind just going over a few minutes and taking them, thank you so much. Sandy? Sandy monitors the live stream broadcast and the social media streams for Print Media Center during the panels, and she interprets the questions for us.
Okay, we have a cold web publication printer. They're nervous about adding inkjet, but they're very interested in it. They want to know if they move existing jobs, how can they fill existing capacity on the web, number one. And number two, how can they build their business using inkjet for adding value with versioning, inserts, and other variable options?
Anybody want to take this first?
I'll jump in.
Go.
I've got a customer doing it. Okay, so is it something that's easy to just flip the switch? No. You need a sales team. First of all, I'll talk about the growth, the applications for the variable stuff. You need to build an application set. You've got to have the talent in-house or an agency you're working with very closely that can do that. And if you don't have that, go find someone and partner with them. That's what a lot of our customers have done. You've got to have a sales team that can have that conversation, because this is not a procurement bidding conversation. This is walking into a customer and talking to their marketing people. A lot of my printer sales teams are going out not just with the sales account manager, but also with the solutions architect that help them talk the application and data talk. So it's a bit of a climb, but you can get there. We've got customers that have done it. As far as adding more cold set web volume, what I've seen is the one customer that I specifically was talking about, he had 4 web presses, 4 cold set web presses, reduced that down to 3, and that forced economies onto the remaining 3 presses, and he only used the offset presses for longer run work.
Sure, that was a great question, by the way. So I would say there's 2 pieces to that. My first qualifying question would be, if a customer is looking going into inkjet, and we actually have a customer who's all offset presses today, and actually our first building block with them is they have no digital, so they have no workflow. So the first thing I would probably do is think about building with their current systems a workflow that would support a robust digital workflow. That's probably the first place I'd start. The second thing I'd do is, I think like a lot of us up here, we have a business development group that would help them look at the digital side, not a problem, and internally or externally consultants that would help build and make sure we have the right kind of products on both the offset web and on the digital side. So I would take those kind of approaches first. If I was being a little simplistic here, I would say the printing is the easy part of this. It's the building blocks around it that must be in place first before you start leaping in to do something else. Then as you go into that piece, we want to make sure that the model works. If I was being a bit blunt here, I think it's important for our offset customers to understand what the digital models look like as a TCO and a return on investment. That's probably another piece of education. Would spend some time with them. Those would be good building blocks to start, I think, and that's probably where I'd go.
So Guy had it right, but backwards. Inkjet's not Field of Dreams. You don't go build a workflow and they'll come. Well, you sit down with your customers. You understand. So we want our customers to understand what their customers are trying to achieve. What are their business objectives? What are you doing with your statements and your direct marketing content, your newsletters and your collateral? At the end of the day, what are you trying to do? And then how can our customers help them get there? And then from a Xerox perspective, what can we do from a business development perspective to help facilitate that relationship? Once you know what those customers are trying to do, then you go build a great workflow to accommodate that. Is it putting in XMPie for direct marketing campaigns? Is it putting in Solimar to take pre-composed PDF and add more value to it? I don't know that until I know what I'm trying to do with those applications. So it starts with sitting down with the visionary in a company of our customers. Where do you want to go? What volume are you trying to build? What do you want to sell at the end of the day? Then go build a really great workflow with any number of solutions that we offer. This is what I'd add.
Oh, shit.
First S-bomb of the day.
Thank you. Okay, next question, and then we'll let you all go.
Okay, so our folks on this cast are very bottom line oriented, and when you talked about maintenance and a 10-year amortization, they want to know how do upgrades happen? Are they done remotely? Are inkjet heads changed through algorithms? I don't even know what that means, but that's what they want to know.
Thank you very much, Sandy.
I'll jump on that, but I think we're all going to have a similar answer. The way that our system works is software upgrades, of course, are done remotely. When it comes time to do a major upgrade like we've just gone through, upgrading our resolution double, that's just a head replacement. And it's, depending on how many heads you have on the press, it's a number of head replacements, but that's, if it's done correctly, we do it in a sequence where the customer is not down for more than a little bit of time. We're talking less than 5 minutes per head to replace all the heads on a press takes a day. So for us to go through that process, we want to. It's not a rocket science. We don't take the press down for days on end.
Can I say it depends? It depends a little bit on the product. It depends a little bit on how much you've changed. In principle, I would say the following is important. First of all, I just want to make a statement about the 10 years. I think most of what I see now is between 3 and 5 year amortization time. It's really gotten shorter and shorter. And if you think about the revolution of inkjet printing across many vendors that are at this event, it's important to remember how much they're changing, how quickly they're changing for all kinds of reasons. So we offer customers a number of ways to move around that 3 to 5 year time frame, which I obviously don't want to say here because there's certain people here that shouldn't hear it. But just to talk about it in general.
That's why I love the Printerverse, by the way.
I would say 3 to 5 years is probably common. I would tend to agree some software updates can be done remotely. Some can also be done on site. It just depends on the situation. Usually it's very typical. What is interesting, I think, too, is as the vendors are working on a lot of different things at once, the heads are very important, but so are the inks. Mm-hmm. You see a lot changing on inks. Certainly the head selection allows, certainly for us, to have a wide variety of inks. And in some printers, we've even mixed ink types, so the inks really help that product change the way it operates and works. That makes a big difference. As far as algorithms go, yes, there are timing sequences that go into print heads to allow them to fire at a certain rate and change the way they operate. That is done via software, and upgrades that can either be done remotely or locally. So to answer that question a little bit, yeah, it does completely change the way they look. You're basically giving the head a lobotomy and making it operate completely different, and it can act differently depending on the ink set.
Thanks. Rico, want to?
Yeah, I'm not sure I can add much more than that. Again, it depends. It's a combination of firmware upgrades as well as hardware. But obviously, you know, our philosophy is try to minimize that production disruption for our customer. That's key.
Xerox?
Yep, same philosophy. Minimum downtime as little as possible. And one thing I wanted to throw in there, because there is a lot of focus on print heads. They'll walk up and say, well, what print head are you using in that Rialto or Trivor or what have you? And that's the wrong area of focus. It's not print heads, it's print engines that you should be concerned with. Let me give you an example. Does everyone remember when Med Kavleski won the Boston Marathon? Okay, do you know what he was wearing on his feet? He's wearing Skechers. So if everyone at the Boston Marathon was wearing Skechers, would they've all came in first at the Boston Marathon? No, that's ridiculous. So yeah, print heads are important. It's the engine that counts. So it's that software and firmware and all that knowledge and expertise behind how to drive those print heads that really count.
Well, I really want to thank everybody. We went into OT at the Inkjet panel, but thank you very much for your time, for your information. You can go to, actually, graphexpo16.printmediacenter.com. It has all of their information on the Alliance pages. Thank you guys so much for your support of the Printerverse and mostly for sharing your information with the people. That's what this is all about. So thanks, and we'll be back in a little while with a HP Case Study Cafe. Thank you, everybody.
Awesome. Hey, Chris. Nice meeting you.
We got so much participation. I started circling the quotes that you guys did where people would take the thing that you all said.
Yeah.
So if you're ever interested in that, get back here. I'll let you know. But
Well, I'll just